So welcome to the Global Discussion, discussions with creatives, leaders and thinkers. My name is Simon Hodgkins and today I'm joined by Stephanie Bretonniere. Stephanie, you're very welcome to the podcast. Let's begin by asking you to introduce yourself to our worldwide audience. So over to you, Stephanie.
Hi, Simon. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm very pleased to be with all of you. So my name is Stephanie Bretonniere. I'm actually French, but I'm used to say, I'm French only on the passport. I prefer to be a citizen of the world because I do travel a lot. I'm currently based in Paris, but I travel the world very, very often. I usually go to London, Milan, Geneva, and also spend a lot of time in the Middle East, specifically in the UAE, so nearby Dubai, Abu Dhabi, a lot also in Saudi. And I come quite often to the US, Miami and New York mainly. So I'm used to describe myself as a Web3 impact catalyst. I'm an enthusiast in regards to artificial intelligence. And I'm the CEO and founder of Power3 and We Impact.World. I'm also advising a couple of startups within the Web3 space. I've been honored to be invited to be one of the advisors of the Outlier Venture and Farfetch startup program. And I do sit as well at the World Economic Forum Expert Network. So that's more or less what I do. And last year in Miami, I've been very pleased and honored to be awarded as the top 100 women of the future, who actually helped me to enter into the very exclusive women community of the 100 Davos Women. So I've been invited to the World Economic Forum in January.
That's impressive, Stephanie. I mean, the 100 Davos Women, that's a global community of impact-driven women that are really making a difference in the global community. So congratulations on that. And everything from, being part of that Farfetch advisory. I know they're a very fast-growing international organization. You're involved at the World Economic Forum. You mentioned We Impact.World and all the work that you do in the Web3 space. So can you maybe tell me a little bit about, let's talk about Web3 first, because it's kind of a topic that's been out there for a little while now, and people have different understandings of Web3. But when you're out there helping companies in the world understand Web3 and the future and what that's looked like, as a CEO and a founder, what are the kind of areas that you're involved in, or what's your viewpoint?
Yeah, for me, what is absolutely critical right now, it's to make sure that every single founders, owners, CEO understand, and I should say every single employee understand, those new technologies. Why? Because this will definitely impact every single business. We have to reinvent the way we do business. And I'm used to say, I've been working in the digital, what we are used to call Web 1, Web 2, so very, very early 2000. I launched just a bit of background. I've started my career in the beauty, luxury, and fashion space, working at Clarins Group, LVMH, and Richemont Group. And I always work, because this is, one of my passion. I always work, in the digital field. So it was a new technology at that time. And I launched my first e-commerce website at Dior in 2003, actually. So, 20 years ago. And I've been working at Richemont to lead actually the digital transformation at Richemont, developing, the e-commerce platform in the US, in Europe, and in China. And, all these change that, new technology bring also a lot of fears. And it's like a repetitive cycle. What I can observe right now in Web3, it's exactly the same resistance, the same fears that I've been observing, when I was working and dealing with the digital transformation. But the main difference is the fact that digital bring an evolution when Web3 is going to generate a true revolution, because the way we're going to work won't be anymore the same. It will impact your business model. You will have to think about how you will share your revenue with the people who contribute to your success and to your growth. You will have to build true relationship with your end consumers and also with your employee. But you will also have, and that's the way you can leverage, this new technology, is actually activate all the benefits of these technologies to accelerate, speed up your sustainability transformation. And so the main big difference compared to the Web 2 evolution is the fact that, most of the companies had between 10 and 15 years to make this evolution, when we estimate the fact that the Web3 revolution will impact business between the 3 to 5 years, starting today, actually. So more you wait to start to learn how to reinvent your business, more you put your business in danger, because it will all be based by your ability to transform and your ability to learn. And you won't be able, to only train your COMEX or your top executive within your organization. Otherwise, this will definitely impact your productivity, so your profitability. So it's really important that we emphasize not the tech. And I'm used to say, I'm very fan of Simon Sinek, and we will talk about him in a couple of minutes. But the golden circle of Simon Sinek is absolutely critical and should be applied, and must be, I should say, applied to the Web3 and to the new technology integration strategy. Why? Because you should not start by what? You don't need to understand, the tech space of these new technologies. What you need to understand is why you have to leverage them, and how can you leverage them within your own organization. And that is the most critical point, because that's what, I really, this is my mission, actually. Most of the geeky people like I am are focused on the what, the crazy of, this smart contract, this blockchain. We don't care, actually. That's not the most important thing. To get the mass adoption, we need to emphasize why businesses have to leverage this technology, and how can we help them to reinvent their business.
Yeah, that you make some excellent points there. And it, whether you were back in your Dior days or, you were looking after international communications, I know, at the LVMH group, which is a well-respected global brand in its own right. And I think the other thing as well, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that of the Richmond group, which I know you were the chief digital officer there. So whether that's, I don't know whether we call that Web 1.0, certainly Web 2.0, but that digital transformation step moving to this 3.0 or whatever we want to call it today, I think you succinctly wrapped that up. It's not the tools, it's the why. And I think that's really, really important, because the tools, from your perspective and people that have been in industries for a little while, the tools change all the time. It is the why. I think that's a great point, and I'm sure Simon Sinek will come up again in our conversations. But the other thing that I wanted to just touch on is, in your current role, obviously you're working with different companies. Obviously, there's a flavor of retail in there. You've mentioned one great big retail player earlier, but you're also working with governments. You're partnering with sort of startup accelerators, and you're reaching obviously the tech and the sort of strategic advisory sections of things. So it's quite a broad spectrum, really, is my question. This change impacts everybody, doesn't it? It's not just, well, it doesn't really impact me. Everybody has to be very cognizant of this, don't they, Stephanie?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, what is important to understand is everyone will be impacted by these new technologies. And my mission right now at We Impact.World and Power 3, I mean, there is a tremendous issue we have to solve. And that's the reason why I'm gathering some tremendous people with me, to tackle that big, challenge, which is the fact that 68% of the 332 million SMEs are currently struggling to survive or to expand their business. And when you look at the figures, the SMEs on the worldwide scale represent 70% of the employment and 50% of GDP. So if we don't empower those organizations, if we don't support, the founder, the owner, and if we let them struggle because they have to deal with 5 different crises of transformation: economic crisis, talent crisis, which goes with great resignation or silent resignation. They have to deal with technology transformation, and I should say technology revolution, AI, Web3. And on top of that, they need to move forward, but very, very, very quickly on their sustainability transformation. So actually, when you look at those 5 branches, it's so huge. The change has to be so deep that's the reason why, all these SMEs, and it's 332 millions, it's huge. And it's just an estimation. And it's not only, SMEs in Europe, but it's also all, or in the US, let's say, developed market, but it's also, all the ecosystem in emerging markets. And we need to make sure that we do not enter in a too polarized world, because this will generate a lot of bigger issues. So that's my mission right now. It's to empower actually those businesses to understand how. The why is not anymore a question. It's obvious, because if you don't move forward in 3, 4, 5 years time, you're bankrupt, you're out. That's written. So the only way we can make sure actually we support and we help those organizations to be a thriving business and to develop their growth is to empower them, helping them to understand how they can grow your business, expand their business on an international global scale, how they can leverage those technology, and how they can start transforming their business into a sustainable business. So not only financially speaking, but also socially and environmentally speaking.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie. I mean, they're excellent points. And I want to just maybe go back to sustainability, just to tease that out a little bit, because at We Impact.World, which you're the founder and CEO of, I know we talked about luxury or premium lifestyle sort of retail brands, right? I know that's one of the core focus areas. But whether it's through the SMBs, not those big brands we talked about earlier, the small, medium businesses that make up such a large part of our world, a large part of our workforce, but they also impact significantly the deep supply chains that we have today that are transforming. And when you look at that from a social responsibility perspective, from a sustainability perspective, it's mission critical. And I know you're bringing together experts in that area, and you've also launched something called We Impact.Women. So could you maybe just expand on those 2 areas for me a little bit?
Yeah, actually, if let's take an example of the fashion industry, which is the second most polluting industry in the world, right after oil. When you look at the figures, 70 to 90% actually of the carbon emission made by that industry are made during the production phase. And except very, very few brands who produce, let's say in Europe or in the US, most of the production and especially since the emergence of the fast fashion, most of the production is made in Asia. And so it's not under the control of the brands. So when a brand say, oh, I'm going to be carbon neutral, I'm going to be to tackle this carbon emission, they tackle the carbon emission on their, what we call in their value chain. The value chain, it's split it in three phases. Scope 1 is what is directly linked to your brand. So your headquarter, your organization, by itself. Scope 2, it's to make it simple. I will do not enter into some technical explanation. Scope 2, it's everything linked to the energy. What type of energy do you use to make your business work? And Scope 3, it's everything linked to what is outside directly of your organization, your provider, the farmer, producing the cotton. So it's out of your control, but in the fashion industry, 70 to 90% of the carbon emission are made within the Scope 3, phase. So what is really important, actually, it's you have to tackle this big problem. And for that, you need to work very closely with every single partners or supplier that are involved into your business. Because if you just focus on what you control, you have, 10, 20% of impact on your overall carbon emission. And it's also, very important to make sure that you start to really, tackle the problem of the pre-owned, or what we call, the second-hand markets. Because not only in some areas, there is a tremendous opportunity business-wise, but on top of that, when you look at the way, I'm sure that in the US, you have some space where you can drop the clothes you don't want anymore. But when you look in details how, those clothes are managed after you give them, it's critical, because most of, those clothes are sent to what we call second-hand markets. So for the US will be Chile, for example. In Europe, it's Ghana, in Africa. But they don't have the structure to actually recycle, reuse all these huge amount of clothes, of garment that are sent over there. So it ends on the beach in Ghana, creating a tremendous ocean pollution. And in Chile, within the Atacama Desert, it creates also a deep pollution of the water. The water within below the ground. I don't remember how we call that in English, but you got the point. So it's actually, we need to make sure that every single brand is accountable for the overall impact of their business, and don't wait someone to solve all the problem. You have to be one of the change maker. You need to tackle this problem, and on top of that, it's a tremendous way to generate additional business, offer additional services, and make sure that you are a part of the transformation, because there is no choice anymore. We have to succeed and to reach the 2030 goals of UN SDGs.
I like that a lot, Stephanie. And it's obvious to people listening or watching this episode that, it's wonderful to speak to somebody who's not only knowledgeable, but also passionate about this topic. And, some of the things that you mentioned there about, what happens after the main event, the impact of those supply chains too, often they aren't brought to the forefront. They're sort of things that we don't realize or maybe don't think about. But it is really encouraging to hear that, I know you're focused at a very high government level. You're working with investors at the other end, people investing in these companies. You're working with the brands themselves. And you've also got that startup and SME, SMB sector. But it's that whole supply chain, isn't it, that's really impacting everybody. And I think doing that, whether it's Web3 and the new, whether it's payments or blockchain that you mentioned earlier, or this new way of doing things, but making sure that that's done in a sustainable way that gets us to those 2030 goals. And the work that you're doing at We Impact.World is significant in that area, to tie those two so closely together. And it's something that you said right when we started talking on this episode, that it's no longer okay just to do business the way you've done business before, because you have to find a way of involving your customers, your community, your supply chain. It's absolutely everything, isn't it? But some businesses are doing it right. Some people are really trying to make a difference, but it's a long journey, isn't it, Stephanie? This is not an easy topic.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's a long journey. So because it's a long journey, don't start tomorrow, start now. And, a lot of CEOs say, oh yeah, but it's super complicated, I can't afford it. No, that's not the right mindset. What I used to say is, we have an economical situation, and I'm not, the kind of people who say, yeah, we don't care, just do it. No, you have an economical reality, and you need, as a CEO, as a founder, to make that work. But if it's something that you need to do, you have to find solutions. So that's what I like to emphasize working with COMEX CEOs. It's, what can we do? If we look at your business, there are always assets you don't leverage properly, because in some organization, there are a lot of political issues that actually have a tremendous impact on the efficiency of your organization. Might be, that your organization is organized in the way that there are a lot of silos. So cross, division, you do not optimize the way you work, or you don't have seen that by, integrating circular model or leveraging Web3 technologies, and I'm going to give some example, you are able to leverage and generate new revenue stream. So my point is that don't be stopped by the amount of work. Start now, start small, and start, experimenting new ways of doing business that will generate, the growth, the additional growth you need to finance your transformation. And then you create, a very positive and a very powerful circle that helps you to move forward. And I'm used to say, yeah, for sure, it's like climbing the Everest mountain. But if you look up and you don't look to your feet, you don't know where to go because it's too big. You're getting lost. But look at your feet and make the first step and make a new step actually every single day. And when after a year you will go, and look back, you will see, the progress you have made. So that's very important actually. And it's not a matter of, how hard and how big it is in terms of mindset is how do I do that? And that's the reason why I like to connect the dots. And that's, what I like the most actually, because the way to leverage, for example, Web3 is to connect people. Nothing will happen without involving every single employee, every single, member of your organization. So it's not only your employee, but it's also your community, convert your audience, the rented audience you have on social media, Instagram. They don't, you are not the owner of you rent this audience to Facebook or Instagram. So convert this audience into a real community. Okay. Then actually empower, engage this community with your employees, with your partners, with every single, people that are, fan, convert them into your best fan and convert them into your best advocates. And if you do so, instead of spending, millions in Google ads or Facebook, Instagram ads, don't focus on, acquisition, and don't spend so much acquisition cost for that. Leverage the power of your community for referral and better retention. And you will, on one hand, generate savings. And on the other hand, by leveraging your community, you will generate additional sales. So it's a kind of mindset. And that's a reason why, so combining people, business with, new type of frameworks, and most of SMEs and a lot of, large enterprise I've never heard of, which is growth hacking, leverage those frameworks to bring and generate growth, to support your transformation, leveraging new technologies, and creating, and connecting the dots between these four pillars will make a huge difference for your organization.
I love that, Stephanie. I like that a lot. And I particularly am drawn to the connecting the dots with this, in inverted commas, rented audience that you have over here, and moving them to these advocates and this community that help you. I think that's extremely insightful. And before we move off this topic, because I do want to ask you a few other things, I just also want to, you talked about not just connecting your employees and this rented audience, turning them into a community, but you're also doing some great work in connecting women, female CEOs in sort of developed markets, developed businesses, developed countries, with more, CEOs and women-owned businesses of all shapes and sizes in emerging markets. Could you maybe just tell me a little bit about why that's so important in terms of the transformation and the global impact?
Yeah, for me, it's something that I mean, I want to be part of bringing change also for women, because it's critically important, and I could spend hours to talk about that. But the reason why for me it's important to break silos, and make sure that we can connect women from emerging markets to women that are evolving in, I don't like emerging and developed market. For me, it's a way to split the world. But just to make it simple, actually, we need to develop role model in the community of women entrepreneurs. And just to give you a bit of my personal background, I've been working during 15 years, as I mentioned, in the corporate space in the luxury area. And when I was at Richemont and I led, the digital transformation, I've been working like hell, but really hardly, between 16, 21 hours a day during 3 years and all. And after this 3 years and a half, I had a brain stroke in the middle of the office space. And neurologist told me it might be, we need to wait the second crisis, but it might be, MS. So you will end in a wheelchair. And the ironic part of this story is the fact that a few days before I've been to meet my CEO, and I told him, you know what, we've made it, but I need to find a better work-life balance, and I need to put my family first. After 3 years and a half, being totally dedicated to, make it happen, make that transformation true and working. So I need to take a year break, and I want to make my dream come true, which is something that I imagined when I was living in Argentina, when I had 20 years old. And I said, I want to travel the world with my kids. And he never answered that question, because 6 days after I was, unconscious on the floor with 911 helicopter evacuating me from the office to the hospital. And I told to I had many, impact, and I had to learn, and it has been very hard. But I told to the neurologist, you do whatever you have to do, but at one point, I need your green light to make that dream come true, because I want to, live that experience with my kids. So after 9 months, I managed to get the green light, and we left for 2 years around the world, overlanding, driving during 8 months Southeast Asia, 5 months Australia, New Zealand, 6 months crossing Africa from South Africa to Sudan, and then the Middle East and Iran during 4 months, and then back to Europe. And I've met, but you have no idea, so many amazing people that I made a promise to every single people I've met during that trip. I will give you back, 10, 100 times, 1,000 times more than what I learned and I got from you. Even if you had nothing, nothing, what I mean, materially speaking, but they had so much to share. And I had so many, life lessons I received from those people. So for me, these mission that I do have by connecting and supporting and giving back is just so obvious. And day to day, every single day, I'm meeting so many, amazing new people that I want to make sure that, we can make this world better. And it's not a philosophical, sorry, just idea. It has to be true. It has to, we can make it. We can have a real impact on people's life. And if you just need to spend a couple of hours, just share some tools, some lessons you've learned, some experiences you had, this can definitely help so many people. So just do it.
That's an incredible story, Stephanie. And what was a very I'm sure dramatic and critical time, that's a very worrying situation for anybody to find themselves in, and for your family to find you in that situation. But it is really nice to hear that you managed to do that sort of round the world family trip and discover those dreams. And whether you're in Southeast Asia or Oceania or Africa or the Middle East or across Europe, I don't think you could buy that experience. It's kind of the people that you met, what you learned, the passion, the friendship. I can hear that coming through in your voice. It's just incredible. And of course, that makes perfect sense as to why you're so passionate about connecting not just people across the world, but women across the world too.
Yeah.
And I think it's such an important work that you do in there. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that story. I do appreciate it, Stephanie. Now, look, I do want to change gears a little bit, and I do want to ask you a few other questions before we run out of time today. And with everything that you have and everything that you're going through in terms of your business and developing other companies and helping other people, you obviously have to keep abreast of what's happening. You have to learn, you have to onboard information. Now, do you read books? Do you listen to podcasts? Are you reading the latest documents that are coming out, or the white papers on sustainability and, supply chains? How do you onboard information? Do you read and watch things for pleasure, or is it all business? How does that work for you, Stephanie?
So, yeah, I'm what we call a lifelong learner. I learn every single day, that's the reason why I like so much for decades now, new technologies, because either you learn every single day, either you're out, because things evolve every single second. So yeah, definitely I read, I watch, I listen, so podcasts, I watch a lot of documentary, I read. I'm a very good client of Amazon. And actually, I don't care about material things. The only thing that I do care is my books, because I do have a very large and wide library. And actually, that's funny because you asked me if I like for my pleasure or if I, read for work. But for me, there is no personal and professional life, because what I do it with a lot of passion. I think you got that point. So everything that I learn, I can't say it's for my work. It's just for me. It's just nurture who I am, and I just want to read and to learn from the best, and and when I say the best, it's not necessarily the most successful financially speaking. It's every single person who just helped me to understand something that I don't know. So yeah, I read a lot, and in a very different field. Could be I like biographies. For example, I've been reading the biography of Phil Knight, for example, from Nike, from Alibaba. Uh, I read also a lot of book. For example, the one, and preparing that podcast for me. On top of what I like to read, it's also what are the 3 books that every single CEO's founder should read in the present time, considering all the challenges we mentioned before. So the first book would be the one of Ben Horowitz. What you do is who you are, and that's something that for me it's really interesting, because you can make a true direct link with Web3. Web3 will bring what what is so important right now. It's about trust, and if you want to be respected by people, just do what you say, and what you do is who you are. So you can play it around and try to manipulate things, but looking at what people do enable you to understand who they really are. And for me, that's a true lessons. I do not listen, I just watch what they are doing. So, and it's all about Web3. Thanks to Web3, and I just make a quick link back to these new technologies. But for example, European Commission is actually working on what we call digital passport, and every single items within the next 2 years will come with the digital passport. And those, this digital passport will embed all the information of, every product coming from, the sourcing material, where they have been produced. And you won't be able to manipulate this data, because it will be encrypted on the blockchain. So we will, thanks to this kind of, new tools that every single customer will have access to, we will get rid of the greenwashing. And this will enable every single end consumer to get real and true information. And this will bring trust. So trust is absolutely critical if you want to succeed in the next years to come. The other book that I do love, and we mentioned, Simon Sinek previously, it started with why. Just doing business for business, it's going to be an issue, because specifically the new generation, they want more than a product. They want to be linked to aspirational and responsible and engaged brands. So find your why is absolutely critical, because on top of that, you won't do just a business. You will actually do a business with passion, which makes a huge difference when you need to develop a true relationship with, your employee, with your end consumer. And the only way to do it is to be authentic. So the only way to be authentic is to find your why. And the last one is the amazing book of Brené Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. We are in a era where we have to accept the fact that we don't know. We don't know. So we have to accept the fact that we are vulnerable. So, and I'm dealing with this issue with a lot of CEOs, sorry to say, but especially boomers, because, they have been dealing with business for so many years, repeating, the same recipes that works during decades. So they had the power. They had the one who knew, how to do it and where to go. But in the current time, no one knows, what will be the business in a year's time, in 2 years' time, and even less in 3 years' time. So it's not a matter of having the power. It's not a matter of knowing as a leader how to do it. It's a matter of how being a courageous leader, how to accept the fact of being vulnerable, but to deal and to continue to lead and to make your organization successful. You need to gather around you some tremendous younger people that are expert in some area that will make a difference in your organization. And we need to go then from top to bottom organization in a more balanced organization where you can have also bottom up. And it has to be this kind of new way of communication, because you need to learn from the ground, you need to learn from the field, and that's super important. So that would be my three books recommendation for any leaders who accept to be vulnerable and who wants to become a courageous leader.
They're three exceptional recommendations. Thank you, Stephanie. And thanks for bringing them to life as well, because, that sort of courage, that authenticity that you need, that vulnerability that you need, and also trust. And we sort of squeeze Simon Sinek in there again. And I was only talking very recently on one of these episodes, we were talking about trust and we were talking about performance. And he does a great discussion around that. And he talks about the Navy SEALs, and he talks about SEAL Team 6, and he talks about how they value trust so highly in their selection process over performance. And for anybody who hasn't seen that clip, it's on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it in lots of different places. But yeah, thanks for bringing those three books and those three, topics to our audience, because they are, as you say, they're critical for leaders in today's world. And particularly important that it's okay to say we don't know all the answers, and it's okay to be vulnerable. I really like that too. So thank you, Stephanie. The other thing I want to ask you is, I want to ask you about, through all your journeys, now this could have been on your worldwide family trip across the world, across the globe, or it could be something back from your early days in the luxury fashion retail world, or maybe the work that you do today. It could be back into your childhood, but people that you admire, people that have inspired you along the way, people that you look up to. What springs to mind when I ask you that question, Stephanie?
I mean, I will, give some women's name, because I think that it's important to, to support each other. And I had the chance to meet some of them. Let me, give as an example of the numerous women that I do respect and inspire me every single day. I should name Malala Yousafzai. Malala, I had the chance to meet her at the G7 of the Innovation of Education in 2019. And the way, actually, she is absolutely amazing, and her story, is absolutely in Pakistan, is absolutely in Afghanistan, sorry, is absolutely yeah, I mean, very inspiring, because she had to fight for her life, for accessing education, and education is really really critical for every single girl, and have a tremendous impact on their future. So yeah, so Malala is the first one. Jane Goodall is absolutely someone I do respect, and I know very well her organization and her director, but I really wish I will meet her very soon, because she's a tremendous example for me on how breaking silos, because when she arrived during the 60s in Africa, people, European people were used to say, but how come these indigenous people can kill animals and so on? But that was, a very, let's say, simple way to analyze the situation. And Jen explained the fact that, and I like this expression, in Africa, they call the white people Muzungu. And Jen used to say, it's very easy to have this kind of analysis as a Muzungu. But when you just survive for your life, you do whatever you are able to do. And if we want to make sure that we can protect, those animals and protect the environment in Africa, we need to have another way to tackle this challenge. We need first to develop the economic situation within those regions. Then we need to educate, and then we will be able to have an impact on the environment. So when you face a problem, it's very interesting to analyze the problem in a different perspective, because if we just focus on the problem without analyzing, other way to tackle, because you need to bring additional elements to your answer, you will just focus on the problem without finding the right way to solve it. So the way that Jane, connecting the dots, it's really, for me, inspiring. And for me, it's exactly the point regarding sustainability transformation. If you just focus on sustainability transformation without integrating the fact that you need to finance, so you need to generate additional growth, because, it costs to transform any business. So you need to bring growth, and you need to empower people. So it's exactly my vision has been inspired by Jane, because for me, it's just a replication of what the model that Jane developed for her institute, actually. I talk about Brené Brown because, in terms of personal development, it's really important, to learn and to go into your personal journey and analyze why do you behave this way, and where your strengths come from and where your weaknesses come from, because by knowing yourself is so important and impacts so much your business. And I will end as with a last name, Michelle Obama. I'm really fan and absolute, for me, she's an absolute source of inspiration. And her book, Become, is just so true. Just do, what you have to do and become the woman that you are, but you have to show who you are, actually. And that's so important to usually we, as a woman, we have a tremendous issue, which is a lack of concept of confidence and imposter syndrome. So I think that we need to face our fears, being surrounded by people who believe in you, and just do it. Just disconnect your brain and just do it, actually.
Well, thank you for mentioning there's some exceptional people in terms of people that inspire you, people that you admire. And also the other key word that came up there is the importance of education as well. And I think that's such an important note that you've made there. And leading on from that question, Stephanie, when it comes to advice, is there any advice that you have received throughout your career, throughout your journey, that you think is excellent, that you've kept, close to your heart, that helps you in daily life? Or is there advice that you often find yourself sharing with others?
So for me, if I can just summarize in 4 points. First of all, believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one will believe in you. You have to start by, you. And listen to your intuition, especially when you're passionate. And as soon as you solve a problem, listening to your intuition is always, a good recommendation that everyone should follow, because sometimes we get influenced by, some people or by our little voice. I try to discourage you to do it, but just listen to your intuition is very important, and learn every day, especially in right now. Just learn every day. It's so important. And there is something very interesting. The World Economic Forum made an analysis very recently, saying that 1 billion of people needs to upskill or reskill, needs to be upskilled or reskilled. And there is, especially with AI, you will have two types of people. The people that are augmented, so they know how to leverage artificial intelligence, and so they develop, let's make it simple, they develop superpowers, super skills. And the one that are not, empowered with this type of technology, and those people will be they might face very difficult time, because the people who are augmented will be, so much more productive, efficient, and empowered, that will make a huge difference. So that's really important to, even it sounds to you, very difficult, but there is plenty ways to learn, and we can help them, for that. But definitely, every single person have to, it's not should, is have to learn, every new technologies in a way that impacts, their business, because this will make a huge difference in their career. And the last point is just linked to what I just said: embrace change. Change is the new norm. You can't, the way you used to work in the past is no longer, valid, is no longer something that you will have the comfort to live with. So embrace the change and develop your resilience, especially when you are a founder or an owner. It's going to be hard in many ways. So resilience, courage, being trustworthy, it's the new soft skills that and embrace change, being a lifelong learner, is for me the definitely the soft skills that everybody should develop.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. And it kind of reminds me of something you said earlier. Look, we know it's a journey, we know it's a transformation, we know we have to get involved. And if we know all that, you have to start somewhere. So you might as well start today. I think that's very, 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 very good. And thanks for sharing that advice. And that leads me to my next question, which is, with everything that you are involved in, and you're involved in a lot, what does the next 6 to 12 months look like for you? How do you go about planning? What are you hoping to achieve?
So huge ambitions, because I want to have a real impact. So that's the reason why I'm meeting a lot of tremendous entrepreneurs. I'm meeting with governments, especially in UAE and Saudi. They are moving so fast. Their vision, their ambitions, and how they turn this vision and ambition into actions, it's tremendously impressive. And that's the reason why I'm spending so much time there, because they are going to have a tremendous impact on the world. And I think this will have a tremendous impact geopolitically and economically speaking, because they embrace technology, and they want to leverage that, also to have a tremendous impact on our planet. That's the reason why the next COP28 will be organized in Dubai in November. So so I'm really focused on developing the platform of We Impact.World, and Power 3 is empowering this platform with Web3 and AI technology. So and the point is that I want to bring a lot of impact towards those SMEs who are struggling. And I want to show that it is easy, actually, to leverage those technology. They just need to leverage peer knowledge, have the right tools, right frameworks, and be supported by a tremendous community. So that's my mission for the next 6 months to come. And I want also to involve governments, because it's important to create the right network and bring efficient tools, platform solution to support the local economies, and also involve investors, because without fundings, we can't move forward, actually. So it's very important here again to connect the dots and break the silos. So that's my mission.
Yeah, connecting those dots and breaking those silos. If there's anybody that can do that, it's certainly you, Stephanie. Another thing I want to ask you real quick before we come to the end of our time together is, you had a podcast which was the Econology podcast, where you were sort of bringing together those aspects with change makers and these solution makers. So will we see you back behind a microphone at some stage?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I'm going to announce very shortly. But the idea is to, I love to meet new people. That's the reason why I travel so much. For me, it's a way to learn as well, to learn from people. So yeah, definitely, I want to be back behind the mic and be in your position. So I hope that next time you will be in my position and I will be in yours.
That sounds like a plan. Well, look, before we wrap up, there's only two things I'd like to ask you. Number one is there anything that we've talked about a lot, but is there any other area or any other aspect that you'd like to shine a light on today with our worldwide audience? And secondly, for people that want to find out more about all the wonderful things you're involved in, where's the best place to send people to, Stephanie?
So to answer your first question, if I can just invite everyone to start your journey now to make a difference, actually. Learn about these new technologies and the way you can leverage them to have a tremendous impact on your business. Because if you bring this impact to your business, this will impact your employees, this will impact your consumer, and you can do a lot of so also for the planet. So start now, don't wait anymore. And join our community of We Impact.World. That would be tremendous. And what is your last question? I forgot.
Well, if people want to find out a little bit more
Yes,
about
sorry.
you, where do you want them to go to? How do they get in touch? How do they find out what's happening?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the best way is to join on LinkedIn. Do not hesitate to drop me a message. If I can help your business and I can help you, as a founder, as a COMEX, to move forward, because LinkedIn is very my platform. So always keen to meet new people and connect in a way or another. So yeah, very pleased to meet some of you, actually.
Well, that's great. And that brings us nicely to the end of this episode today with Stephanie Bretonniere from the Global Discussion. So thank you to Stephanie. Thank you to everybody who's been watching or listening to this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure that you like, follow us, subscribe, do all the things I need you to do to help support the podcast. And hopefully you'll join me back here for more discussions with creatives, with leaders, and with thinkers. So thank you, Stephanie. It's been really great to catch up with you again today.
Thank you so much, Simon, for the invitation. I really enjoyed my time with you and your audience. And I wish you all the best. And we can talk about the way you can leverage Web3, definitely.
Thanks, Stephanie. Talk soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.